judge me. Please don't. So yeah, now that you already know, my name is Indranil Roy. You can also call me Indy, as in Jones. I'm a 35-year-old Indian, but that's probably not the most exciting thing either for you to learn. Like, buy tickets and learn that, of course. So I'm here to talk about a fairly confusing topic. Confusing at least for my sister and family and all my friends. And even for me, like till 2 years ago, I ran a full marathon. Thank you. I'm just showing off right now, but that was one of the reasons probably. No, most importantly, what I want you to know that this is not a TED Talk. So I am not going to try and woo you in to running a marathon or tell you how awesome it is and how we need to challenge ourselves. I'll stop there. This is just a story from my point of view. It's almost like a point of view thing. Yeah, whoever smiled. So the confusion here starts with what really motivates somebody to run like 42.2 kilometers. That's like from here to Mainz. And pay for it. Well, that was my sister's dilemma. She was like, okay, so you paid about the same amount of money that could buy you like a pretty decent spa vacation. Well, not a vacation, but at least a weekend. And you paid that, and now you're going to run 42 kilometers. Okay, works for me. Go ahead, good luck. But I did some thinking that, what motivates me, la 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 la. And I think it was something in between the soul-drying isolation that we probably all faced during the pandemic, a lethal dose of existential issues that most of us migrants face. I almost call it the migrants' existential issue. Not the most catchy term. I'm still working. Yeah, and people, so I'm sure that all of you have some friends who have done some long distance running, and they have very successfully fed you how much they're challenging themselves and how their life is getting a new meaning through all kinds of social media channels. And something similar happened to me as well. And it was an attempt to fit in, or maybe, just maybe, it was like a preparation for my mid-age crisis. I think the last one's probably the most important one. So here I am in Paris. It's a lovely sunny day after snowing the night before. So I'm all dressed up in the runner's clothes, right? Tight pants, very colorful shirt, and a very colorful garbage bag. Why garbage bag? Well, that's a whole different story in itself altogether. But there I'm standing with about 1 million other same likely dressed people, and everybody's like bubbling with this energy. Like, people are going like, oh yeah, oh yeah. all sorts of warm-up technique that, I got to learn that day. And I was a little surprised at that point because, well, let me remind you that I had trained for like 3 months before that, but it was just then I realized there were 60,000 people. 60,000 people who paid that much money, and they were standing over there waiting to jump into a sea of pain. A possible long-term orthopedic issue. Shit in their pants. And a possible heart attack. And that much energy for all of that. I was just brilliant. Now, so at this point, I'm right near the Arc de Triomphe waiting for my turn to throw myself on the path of sheer pain. So I'm standing next to a bush, trying the pavement. And there's something that I learned during my journey as trying to transform into a runner. So runners can relieve themselves anywhere. Absolutely anywhere. That's a skill that you need to learn, which I've been struggling. So, I mean, it starts from just like, normally relieving you by bushes and here and there. It's like they shun, all normal social traditions or, disciplines of some sort. And it's like, I'm a runner. I could be being anywhere. That's good. Or even better, and this is one other skill that I personally learned as well, is to blow your nose while you're running.
Oh.
Yeah. If you're by the riverside, here's a word of caution. If you're by the riverside and you see a bunch of runners passing by, brace yourself, because they would be like going like right there and go like, yeah. I did that too, and once I had to run very fast after that. Yeah. So, but anyway, I'm standing here by the bush and immersed in my sea of thoughts, like, oh my God, 42 kilometers, all the motivation, God. I don't know, Megatron, everybody help me and stuff like that. And my train of thought is like broken by a lady giggling, and I just turned around, and there was a lady standing right there, holding a piece of cloth, like something in this direction. I'm standing here, and there's a lady sitting right next to me, relieving herself, and I was like, and we, exchanged a look and gave each other the runner's salute, and we were like, hello. Yeah, so that's something that runners really tend to do. That's a skill that you need to get up with. Okay, now I've mixed up my notes. So just imagine that I've turned off my camera and I'm going to tell you that I was on mute. But okay, so by this time I've reached the starting line. Of course, I'm with the stragglers. That's another runner term. So there are the elite ones who run 42 kilometers in 2 hours. I still actually don't believe that. And right at the back, there are people like us, who are like trying out running, who hope that you finish in like 4.5 hours or alive. And you can see this, so I'm standing right there, and I'm trying to remind myself, like everything that's motivated me, and I'm observing other people, there's like people starting from just speaking to themselves or jumping or, just pumping themselves up. And you see a lot of emotion right there, because there are, the runners, they're like hugging and kissing their families and friends across the barricades. And we're standing there wearing our serial numbers, waiting for a gunshot to get us running over a very long distance. So all you history enthusiasts, that's not how it was. Well, almost. But I did have a serial number on me, so it just reminded me I'm on only. So the race starts, and I'm still trying to think everything that inspired me to get till that point in time. And my first thought always races back to 2018. That's where this all began. How many of you ran the JP Morgan or know about the JP Morgan? Hey, runners! I hope you are taking notes on the nose blowing skill. I cannot even imagine JP Morgan anymore. There's, it's basically a big pushing fest. But nevertheless, 2018, before that, the longest I had run was like 100 meters. And I was trying to get a train, and I still missed it. But anyway, JP Morgan first time, and I went around asking people, like, is it a marathon? And they were like, no, it's a 5K. Yeah, it's a 5K marathon, right? And runners hate it. If you want to piss off a runner, just tell somebody, I did a 10K marathon. And that's the easiest way to lose a runner friend. So we all participated in that, and we had Astrid. Astrid is 62. She's the most motherly colleague that we have. And Astrid kicked my ass over the stretch of measly 5.5 kilometers by 10 minutes. That was not good for my ego at all, because when, and they also published the times at the end. I mean, just in case, if you were not ashamed enough, they print your times out of your whole team and put it on the company board. And I was like, yeah, this is not going well. I need to do something about it. And I think that was one side. And of course, there were other people who were preparing for a marathon, and there was just so much energy, and I wanted to challenge myself and things like that. But while this train of thought is going on, I've already reached like the 10 kilometers mark. I'm still feeling very, very good. I'm trying to remember all the numbers around how many gels I'm carrying and in which kilometer, which gel to shoot and stuff like that. It's a number game, guys. If any of you are serious runners, there's so much numbers. I almost, at one point thought that I'd probably get like some lines tattooed on my hands. So for each race, I could make like notes in an organized way. It's so much information. But I'm trying to remember everything that my dear friend, coach, inspiration, Irena told me. And she hails from the Czech Republic. I have so much more respect for Czech athletes right now, but at least for Irena, so yeah, she's amazing. So I'm at that 10 kilometer mark and I'm trying to do all those numbers. And right now, as you see, I'm faffing around with my notes. So at that point, as I'm heading for like the 15 kilometer mark, my thought wandered into my first 10K. Now, your journey from a 5K to 10K is actually quite big. At least it was for me, because I was just throwing myself at like 3 kilometers, trying to keep my lungs together, and trying to keep my heart inside and it doesn't escape through my mouth, which it did feel like that quite a few times. And there was this once that Irena told me, hey, would you like to run 10K? And I was like, yeah, I don't know. Do you think I can? And she was like, yeah, don't worry, it's a 5 kilometer lap. You just go around twice. If you don't feel like the first time, just stop. Yeah, after the first 5K. It was not a lap. It was out in the fields, in the most remotest club that is known to Frankfurt, which I don't even know. We got onto some train and I was just following her. It was a club in the middle of nowhere, and very hopeful thought that it might turn around and I'll get back at some point. After 5 kilometers, I just kept running, and the only thing that I could focus on was the cows in the fields. And they were probably the most sympathetic ones because everybody else was. And the cameramans, everybody that's, by the side of the road, even if you start walking, they're like judging the hell out of you. There was no way to stop at all. But if I sweared at Irena, I think for like, a full hour, which my last 5 kilometers lasted. But at the end, I had so much. If that didn't happen, I wouldn't have been hurtling through my 20 kilometer mark by now, running through seas and oceans of people, and everybody shouting, "Ale, ale, ale." I thought they really liked the Ricky Martin song. But turns out that means go, go, go in French, which I realized like 3 days later. So by this time, the pain has started building. You're feeling the burn in your muscles, and the first thing that comes to your mind is the refreshment stations. So in marathons, different marathons, they have like some are quite popular for their refreshment stations, but you really look forward to it because that get some food, get some water. You're like it's almost like somebody chasing an oasis. So I come to this refreshment station and I'm super curious what all they have to serve. The first thing that I notice is, so all the JP Morganers over here, you've seen the huge table with bananas, right? Yeah, you should be thankful that they have the skins on it.
Oh yeah.
Because here, the first table that I reached, it had like one big basket of peeled and cut bananas so that it's easy to grab. And they had been, the bananas by themselves, they had been getting very physically intimate with each other in a very bright sunlight, and they had already started amalgamating with each other. And if that was not enough, the runners, they just came by because everybody's trying to chase the best time, right? There is no time to waste. So they would just come in, shove their hands right into the basket, grab a banana, and just keep going. And I looked at my own hands and I was like, oh my God. Like, I'm sure the bananas are more salty by now than they are sweet. But anyway, also there was another strange thing that they had. So I was told that they'll have isotonic drinks and amazing things that will make you feel awesome. Yeah, there was nothing powder, so. Anyway, so they had cake at the refreshment station. Who on earth serves cake to people who are going to be, running for 3 or 4 hours, possibly shitting in their pants, and somewhere in the middle of the way you decide, oh, well, let's go and have a cake. At least if it was David's cake, with 7 different liquors in it, that would have made some sense. But this just did not. So I did, and I kept moving. And then by about this time, I hit like the 33K mark, and that's when I hit the wall. Yeah. So that's one word that marathoners, they just speak in hushed voices. It's like, train properly or you will hit the wall. and before that, in some of the long runs, I did feel it, but probably not as intensely. It's like your muscles start cramping up, and your whole existence suddenly starts losing all kinds of meaning. And while this is happening, the scene around you is changing as well, because suddenly that happy environment that I described to you in the morning, people jumping in joy and bubbling with energy and all of that, has suddenly changed into a war zone. There are people screaming and shouting in pain down on ground. It's almost like a scene out of Platoon. You know what I mean? There are people actually throwing up, and some people getting carried away by the paramedics, and you're literally jumping over like, oh, I'm sorry about that. Like, are you okay? Sorry, I don't have time. So while this is happening, I at one point I felt lonely, and there is no way to describe that, because that's not the lonely that you feel, swiping through Tinder 11 in the night if you're on Tinder. No, it's not that. This was something different. It felt empty. I felt like the only living organism in the whole space and time, like an endless amount of loneliness. And it's real, guys, and I have never felt it before, and I don't think I would like to feel it again. Hopefully not. Next time maybe I'll feel elated because somebody promised that, oh, sometimes you feel lonely and sometimes you start laughing. And I don't really know which one's better. But I did weep a little as well, I have to be honest. I cried. At one point I'm having a hard time breathing, I'm crying. I have a gel in one of my hands are freezing, and people are still shouting, but at that point it just gets a noise. I was like, stop shouting, I got it, I am allaying, or whatever. Just stop. And about kilometer 37, I said, yeah, I'm going to give up. Doesn't make sense. That's it. And I saw a train station. So that was a cue enough that you have a way to get out. But I made it this far, right? So just before the train station, they had some live bands playing, and the people were incredibly supportive. And literally, Beatles saved me. And this was not the first time. So there was this live band, and they were playing "Come Together Right Now" over me. So I stood there, and I tried to gather my thoughts again. I shouted and sang out loud with them, and that gave me some kind of an energy. And that reminded me that it is not just about put your right leg out and your left leg in, right, and do it all around. It's not just about running. It is so much that has gone into it. There's so much time, there is so much sacrifice of not just yourself, but your loved ones, your families, your friends who have supported you through it. And you giving up at 35 or 36, that's not your loss. That's everybody losing as a big team, and all of that is riding on you. And I was not ready to risk that. Not in Paris, not that day. That was not going to happen. So, I found the next refreshment station, and I found that banana basket. It seemed to be traveling with me. It followed me around in a very nefarious way. So I just look around and I was like, yeah, well, that's what I need. I shoved my hand right in to the basket, grabbed a couple of those bananas. I needed some salt as well because I was really feeling completely drained of salt. At one point, I considered licking my jacket, or the other runners, like, silently moving back to them. But it seemed like the bananas did the trick. They were quite sufficiently salty enough. And I went out looking for the finishing line, like, show me the finishing line. And I promise you guys, that's the sweetest sight that I've ever seen in my life. The finishing line, it's right there. And you know what? They were right when they said that the real marathon is just like the last 5 kilometers, because you have nothing left at all. It's just pure salty bananas. And there, just across the finishing line, I think things got a lot more clearer than why people really do that. Because for 1 second, it was quiet. An absolute sense of peace. No Ale Ales, no Beatles, no Bonnie M's. There's just people in their purest emotion. There's no anger, there is no masquerade. You can see just the people by themselves, everything washed by the pain and the suffering in the last few kilometers, and you just look at each other. And I think that's the purest form that I've seen people by itself. There's nothing, no fake smiles, no fake greetings, maybe a nod that, yes, I respect you. And there was just a feeling of respect that just lingered all along the finishing line, and that was BEA, beautiful. So coming back to the confusing point, I think in hindsight, if truth be told, I think it's really the confusing things in your life. So if you're in the middle of doing something that feels confusing right now, I think at the end, those are the things that makes the most sense. Well, having said that, I wish you peace. Thank you for listening. My name is Indranil, and I wish you a very great evening ahead. Thank you very much.